I'm Elisa Mortensen, and this is UndoRedo. Let's take a look at all the things that happen in life that we would like to undo and have a chance to redo. Hello to all the UndoRedo podcast listeners. How are you guys doing today? If I asked you to ask yourself that, have you done that lately? Ask yourself how you're doing. Would you even be honest with yourself if you were to answer? What is your top struggle lately? Oh, before I forget, you'll want to get on my weekly email list because I pack so many simple, usable things in a few short paragraphs. They're remarkable catalysts for improvement in peace and connection, especially in our closest relationships that struggle. For the weeks and months as you get these emails, all the information sent to you does add up. It levels you up. So don't remain stuck where you are now for very much longer because change is so good. It's uncomfortable, you guys, but it's so good. It brings about the next thing. And sometimes it's the next thing to manage, the next thing to change, the next thing that needs to be overcome. But let's just accept that now. We never arrive. Our journey can be so much more fulfilling and peaceful in the meantime when we're not fighting against it. So here's a spoiler alert, right? Next week, I send out 10 things to let go of. And that automatically increases your well-being and your peace. Okay, so it's been so exciting for me to see how many people UndoRedo has been healing. It's undoing damage, you guys, that has happened in relationships. And in its place, it's redoing connection between them, like parents to kids, kids to parents, partners to each other. And one of the best feedback comments that I've had was from a client just recently. And it was how it opened her eyes to the way she was showing up for herself from then on. That's like the best compliment I could think of ever having. Like, it's important we show up for other people, but how important is it that you show up for yourself? Caring for yourself is quite literally the apex of life. What a great compliment for my work, but more importantly, for her own inner work. And I love what I do, and I'm the person to come chat with to reach the ones that you love that you don't think are reachable or that just seems like it won't ever be healed again and connected, deep, and authentic. It can teach you how to neutralize conflict, cut relationship stress and anxieties, and have the calm, authentic, loving connection that you've wanted so badly to have. Even if you had it before and something major happened, like, you can have it again. I can show you, and I'm really good at it. I'm getting really good at it. I imagine I have a long way to go, but I am really good at it. So let's get on with this episode right now, though. I invite you to try out some of my personalized recommendations. I'm here to make life easier for you, especially on this episode, because there are areas in your life that you find the most challenging. And let's be more specific, like when it comes to other people, because that's my specialty, is connection. So your struggles are unique with the people in your life, and I understand that. That's why my guidance is so tailored to your specific needs. I follow your cues, right? I see what is needed. That's why I can only do so much on this podcast, and I'm going to try. It's very one-sided here, though, and I need to be able to hear you and to talk to you and ask you questions and to get more feedback so I know the direction you're heading, and not just to hear myself talk. So go to lifecoachelisa.com and grab a time that works for you. Now let's go. The first thing, I've already asked you, what do you struggle with most? I want you to identify the specific issue or person you struggle with. What are you struggling with? Is it your child, a boss, a coworker, your relationship with yourself, or like your eating habits? Is there something you'd like to start doing, like working out, getting up early to journal and study, maybe organizing your home? Just keep the issue in mind, and I'd like for you to choose a relationship, but it could be any one of these things if you are just finding your relationships right now. But keep the issue in mind through this episode, because I am going to make it easier for you while you're listening to this episode. So by the time you're done, you have a better, easier time in that area. Now, what happens most often is our minds get stuck in a loop of indecision and procrastination. We might find ourselves saying like, oh, one day or later I'm going to, or, tomorrow or Monday. And In the meantime, we're just distracting ourselves. And what are you distracting yourselves with? What is your weapon of choice that's hurting you? That's like actually not hurting you, but holding you back from what you wanted. Is it food? Like sometimes I'll just be like, I don't really want to go in and write the content for that really awesome, amazing email right now. I'm just going to like make myself some really good food and then I'll go in and do it. And I'm onto myself, like that's my way of avoiding just going in there and getting it done. By the time I make myself awesome, delicious food, I could have been done writing the thing and not been so full when I probably didn't even need the food. My body was probably just fine. Was it scrolling? Some of us are on our phones scrolling and it feels really productive, right? We're learning things. Oh my gosh, look at that. Oh, look what so-and-so's doing. Others, long phone conversations. You call someone and it's really a conversation about a lot of nothing, but it feels productive because you feel connected and it's kind of a lie. But this is called buffering, doing something else instead of what you would like to do instead that gets you further, like addressing the issue at hand. Instead of doing that, you're doing something else. So, and this goes for anyone who's stuck. We all have this thought. The thought that I don't know. We're confused, so we just shut down and it blocks our answers. Like, I just don't know. I don't know. But what's the feeling? Let's identify, like when you feel stuck and you're just like, I am so frustrated with this person in my life or this child or whatever. Like, I just don't even know what to do. I don't even know. It just like shuts us down. It blocks all our answers, you guys. It will always be called an indulgent emotion. Whatever you're feeling. I don't know is self-doubt. It's overwhelm, it's worry, whatever little nuance it is for you, that feeling that shuts you down is an indulgent emotion because it's not like anger, like or happiness or anxiety that's more sharp and fleeting, like it comes and then it goes. But it's an indulgent emotion because you can stay in self-doubt your whole life. You can stay in overwhelm, like the state of overwhelm for long periods of time. How about worry? Some people who are stuck just have like just a general dissatisfaction. They're like, I'm not really like doubting myself or overwhelmed or worried. I just have kind of a general dissatisfaction that I just don't know. Right? It's considered an indulgent one because you can indulge in it for long periods of time. One can live in it for life, actually, or until they just decide to do something different. So now let's address what the cause of that indulgent emotion is. The one that keeps us stuck. Typically, it's just any variation of, I don't know. The thought causing it is something that's confusing to you and indecisive, something that doesn't want to decide. So as we start to identify the thoughts in our minds that are keeping us stuck, you may notice fear of addressing the issue because there's an actual issue at hand, like having awkward conversations, triggering conversations, wanting to say something that you've wanted to say for a long time, but you're afraid of the other person's reaction. I want you to consider that you may be afraid to do it because it may fail. Like you want it to go a certain way and you don't want to say it because you're afraid it will fail. So in that case, you will feel safer just avoiding it altogether and to stay being confused and telling yourself you don't know so you don't have to face it because none of us want to fail at what we're doing. But what if you could find exactly what you're afraid of? Because there's something scary about that person, right? But is it scary because of their reaction? Or is it scary because on the other side of it is the person you really want to be and you haven't done that before? Are you unsure what would happen if you started working to overcome this struggle? On the other side of it is the person who you want to be. I hope you guys are following me along because sometimes I might be a little bit confusing, but stick with me here. Most of us are afraid we'll fail or afraid of the authentic person that we've never been able to be on the other side because maybe other people's judgments or things just won't go the way we think they will, and it'll just fail. Okay? Maybe that person, maybe it's an awkward conversation. Maybe it's a boundary that needs to be put in place with a child. Maybe you need to call them out on some behaviors, and you just have never done that before. It's new to you. So there's one reason it could just feel like, I just want to say stuck in confusion because I don't know how they're going to react. I kind of don't know where to start saying the conversation or when to say it. And I've never done this before. It's new to me. Like, those are a lot of good, valid reasons, because those could lead to failure. Or, as most of you like to put it, it's not like you tell me, oh, I'm afraid to say this thing to my husband or child because I'm afraid I'll fail. It'll be a failure. You guys don't say that. Do you know what you say when we're talking? You say it like, I'm afraid of it not working. Well, not working, is it failing? Like, that's just a gentle way of saying that it's going to fail, that it won't work. And that is a huge blocker of decision making, and it stops you from being able to move forward in your life or relationships. And this usually, like I'm saying, is the case in some form or another. It's just defined as failure. Like, if we were to strip it all down, what are you making failure mean? If you're making it mean something like horrible, bad, and awful, then it makes sense. It could seem easier just to ignore it. Like, let's not address the issue because failure means something really, really bad. But most times, on the other side of failing lots of times, you have success. The only one who doesn't have success is the one who never tried, never failed. Okay, well, now you're probably wondering, like, how is Elisa Mortensen going to make my life easier in this one episode right now? And I'll tell you right now, you're going to learn how to make decisions ahead of time. All right? You're going to define what failure is to you first. Like, what does failure mean to you? Because we all fail hundreds of times. When you were a baby, you got up to walk and you failed. How many times? How many months until you really got it down? You didn't make it mean any drama. Now that we're older, we want to make it mean all sorts of weird things, but like, you just got up and kept going. And then you got up again, and then you fell 2 seconds later, and then you tried just half standing up and fell over, and then you just did it again. Let's just go back to that. But what I just said about telling you how you are going to learn how to make decisions ahead of time, what do I mean by that? Do you remember when you were in elementary school and you had DARE week, the drug abuse resistance education? The people came to your school and they practiced in the auditorium or in your little classes, and your teachers saying no. What are you going to say when somebody offers you alcohol? No. No, what are you going to say when somebody offers you cigarettes and these, all these things that are so bad for you? Like, no, right? It was to give us resistance and resolve, deciding ahead of time. So later, it's just automatic. You're kind of seeing where I'm going with this, right? We wouldn't get caught up in whether or not we agree with it at the moment. We would know that our answer was already. We decided ahead of time. So that's what it means to make decisions ahead of time. It's a resilience thing. Here's an example. Let's make a scenario about kids. Let's be more specific. Let's make it about a teenager. If you were to go day to day, taking life as it comes with a teenager in the house and only addressing what's in front of you at the time with your teen, you run a much higher risk of communicating poorly. Okay, I do. Okay, if I was just to run every day, all day on a whim with what's right in front of me, my responses would be based on how I feel at that moment. And how I feel on the moment, right, when something just comes out of nowhere, because teenagers are so random, it would differ how I felt based on all the influences around me, like how much sleep I've had, what I have or haven't eaten lately, how much stuff I have or haven't got done, right? The stuff that's still like weighing on me from my day. And the biggest one would be my thoughts. Whether my thoughts just recently, and especially as of the moment that something is happening, are they for my teen or against them? Because I'm either just recently thinking about all they're lacking or about everything they are to me, right? So all of these factors play into what you decide at that moment. And it's so subjective, right? It can be very confusing to me and my teen to try to navigate a relationship on a whim. So if I didn't know any of these things, like that I'm trying to teach you, and I wasn't aware of myself or how my brain operates, this would be a constant struggle for me. I would be very reactive And my teen would learn like to catch me in a certain mood. And then it's just like manipulation. We're walking on eggshells. And that's not an authentic relationship. That is not deep connection. Oh, I'll ask them later when they're in a better mood. You know, I mean, it's considerate if you think about it. And sometimes we should be aware of other people and compassionate. But when you decide ahead of time who you are, no matter what you're feeling or going through, you line up with that. I'm going to tell you a little bit how some of the basics work. All right. And if you already know this, this is just going to be a refresher, but sometimes it helps to hear it in multiple ways and multiple times and be reminded. So information, like through our senses, like something happens in front of us, it enters our senses through the primal brain first. The instinctual part of your brain gets it first. Then it goes up to the cognitive, the logic and decision-making part. But oftentimes it doesn't make it there. You see, your primal brain gets the information first. So if we instantly interpret a certain tone of a voice or body language to be a threat to us, and it means possible danger, then it may never reach our better, higher mind where our best thinking is. This is why we make decisions now. Because when the time comes, on whatever moment you're having in your life that we just talked about with so many factors, you have some guidelines already in place for yourself. It keeps you out of anger. It keeps you out of poor communication, kind of knee-jerk reactions. It's unnecessary reactions, right? You've decided right now today, when you're in your calm mind, nothing's threatening us. We're in our higher brain and we're being intentional and aware. We're deciding what we will and won't do. You know, who we are, who we really are, and who we aren't. And you have the best chance at maintaining who you are and sticking to what you had pre-decided instead of what you're deciding in the moment as it comes up. This is a really good way to avoid chaos in your life. Here's an example using food just because it's low-hanging fruit, like health analogies are too easy. Say you've decided to feed your body better so you can feel better. And one day you go somewhere and there's lots of yummy things and you know they're not going to make you feel better. But you eat them because you're there and it was just too easy and way too hard to have resisted. It was too easy to eat them. Now you don't feel well for a day or so. Versus you come up with kind of a protocol for yourself and you write it down. You look at it every morning and you commit to it. And then you just go about your life not questioning it all. You just do what you do. You've made it very clear. So when you go somewhere that has those seemingly yummy things that you don't expect and it just pops up at you, you already know it's not an option and you're okay without it. Later, when you get home, you have things that are better for you and you have stuff put in place in all of the regular moments in your life, which is more, at least 80% of the time. You really got a handle on this. No one's going to die from deprivation and it's keeping you in your higher thinking. So you feel confident and in control. You feel really good about yourself and the decisions you're making and you feel very empowered. It's so exciting to know that you can do this and you'll be empowered with more confidence and more trust in yourself as you prove these little things true. You prove that you are capable of not making decisions on a whim, that you aren't just like the beck and call of the food in front of you. You don't have to give in to everything because you told yourself you wouldn't, which usually is driven by the primal brain because it's last minute and they land in disappointment again and again. Can you hear how I'm making your life easier right now?